Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Easton Library Community Book Chat. And it's Earth Day. You might be watching us a little bit later, but it's Earth Day. And so I'm super happy to welcome today's perfect Earth Day guest. We have Jean Stetz Puchalski. Hi, Jean.
Hi there.
How are you
How are you,
doing on this
Christy?
beautiful Earth Day?
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you today and celebrate Earth Day and really so much of what the library has to offer in terms of references and resources to our entire community.
Yeah, I think we do have like a lot of wonderful things for that. So, Jean, you're part of some really wonderful Easton groups. You are part of the Easton Agricultural Commission.
Yes.
You're president, am I correct, of the Easton Garden Club?
Yes.
And also you belong to the Yukon Master Gardeners. Those sound amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about any of those groups?
Absolutely. The Agricultural Commission in Easton has to do with farmland preservation and supporting our farms in town. The Easton Garden Club was founded way back in 1938, and it's just an incredible um, community organization that brings together people who are passionate about gardening. No experience necessary. It's really designed to, and our purpose is to kind of increase garden interest in gardening among the membership in the community, and advance the practical knowledge of the culture and care of plants, shrubs, trees, and the connection to wildlife in our community. So, and the Master Gardeners, it's a tremendous, Yukon Master Gardeners really are a group of people who have chosen to be certified and donate their time with outreach activities around projects in the community. So we are certified Master Gardeners, and we have the knowledge, entomology and botany, and really all about caring and feeding our plants, connecting them to the wildlife and really the ecosystem that's around us, understanding the natural world, basically.
And Easton is such a perfect town for that because I mean, we are so agriculturally and um, based, and everyone just has bigger yards, so there's more area to get into gardening. I think a lot of people in town are probably interested in that.
Absolutely. And that connection for me is the conservation, understanding what happens in terms of soil science under the ground, and then what we see above the ground and how we can cultivate sustainably to really create healthy yards that support our native pollinators.
That's great. And speaking of native pollinators, so the book that we're going to talk about today was super generously donated by the Easton Garden Club, and it is a stunning book with just beautiful pictures. It's a children's picture book. It's nonfiction, and it is called Flowers Are Calling.
Yes.
And Jean, do you want to tell us a little bit about this book?
It's a delightful story. It takes us on a pictorial journey through the woods, through our grasslands and fields and meadows, from the perspective of the flower. And so when we think about the flowers are calling, it kind of walks us through the wildlife that we might meet if we're taking a walk. And are the flowers calling wildlife, or are they calling pollinators? And so the story really maps out the fact that our pollinators serve a purpose in connecting with our plants and our trees and our flowering garden. And the book highlights the fact that pollinators come in all different shapes and sizes. We tend to think about the honeybee, which is actually a European import, but there are just so many. There are hundreds of native bees and other pollinators that come to our gardens. And in Easton, we're in what's called an ecoregion 59. And what we think about when we think about native pollinators, or what we call ecotype plants, they're plants that have evolved to really work with our native pollinators. So this book highlights the fact that, gee, although we have different animals that may be attracted to the plants, it's really the work of the pollinators to sustain and pollinate all the different trees and plants that we have in our ecosystem. So it's really a delightful book. You know, people are unaware that we have bee flies, flies that
Yeah.
actually mimic what bees look like come to
Yeah.
pollinators. And bats, nighttime pollinators, our bats actually pollinate for us. We have beetles, and of course, all sorts of different insects. So it's a
And I love
delightful,
it
yeah,
also highlights some of the plants that these pollinators pollinate,
they
which is
do.
beautiful
And
too.
So many of these plants you can just take a look at and recognize. And I know that you did a native seed bomb project recently with some
Yeah,
ecotype seed and
thank you for
the
those,
yarrow
Jean.
seed.
Yeah,
Oh, you're welcome. No, it's our pleasure with the Pollinator Pathway Project. We're so happy to be in partnership with the library and really bring this forward. So you'll find that the yarrow, which is that native ecotype seed in your seed bomb, is one of the flowers that you can kind of see in this book as you go forward. So the illustrations are delightful, and it's really a book designed for aunts, uncles, grandparents, parents to read to children. And the children will just enjoy the illustrations and get a sense of the story. And the adults learn right alongside the children about some of the details and some of the flowers and who our pollinators are. There's actually even a section here that can engage the parent, teacher, even around, gee, looking at a flower and what do you see? So taking a look at the shape, the size, the function, the smell. So it really serves to be the color, the pattern, and really how are pollinators attracted. So it does lightly touch on the science and really connects us to our environment in a very special way.
yeah. And it's also very sweet because, like it says, does the pollinator call to the deer? And then you says, no, not to the deer, so it's fun that way too. It mentions other animals that children know. It's like a snake
Yes,
and a frog and a raccoon and a deer, and children know those animals. And then they're also learning about like a new one that maybe they didn't know, like you said, like some kind of a, isn't it like a butterfly, and like all those really amazing ones too.
exactly. And it shows the function. So if you have something like honeysuckle or some of the different flowers, it shows just how the bees or the bumblebees can move in there because of the structure of the pollinator and the structure of the plant. So it really teaches us to start looking in our natural world and our environment for these things and be curious about things we really hadn't taken that moment to really look at and understand.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book, and I hope people do um, come in and check it out because it's a simple story. So, like you said, it's great for small children for a read aloud. You'll learn, but it's not overwhelming on any kind of technical words that children wouldn't understand. It's a great combination of story and information.
Oh, Christine, I'm so glad you enjoy it because it's one of our favorites.
Yeah, and thank you so much again. So, Jean, also, I know that the Easton Garden Club has a fundraiser happening. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we do, people may be aware that right around Mother's Day and this year, May 8th, we usually hold a big outdoor in-person garden mart. And this year, due to pandemic conditions, our concern was, what happens when all these people gather? So this year we have on our Easton Garden Club website, www.eastongardenclubofct.org, an opportunity to purchase pre-order plants safely. And for pickup on May 8th, right at the Easton Public Library courtyard. So we'd encourage people to come because as we were talking about the native plants, one thing we're offering and focusing on this year is really from a conservation standpoint, pollinating herbs from our neighbor Sal Gilberti
Oh, yay.
and kitchen culinary herbs that people can add to their garden and ecotype truffles. So very much like the project you had embarked on with the seed balls, these truffles are filled with this native seed that's been grown and harvested right here on local farms. In this case, the Hickories up in Ridgefield, who has a founder's plot for these ecotype plants. And people can buy small kits to be able to toss them into their garden beds or into planters and watch what happens when the pollinators come by.
And what a great gift to give for a neighbor or a friend or for Mother's Day. It's a wonderful thing to give as a gift and to support the Eastern Garden Club. It's great.
Yes.
I used to go many years to the ones that we have on the green, and it'll be nice to still be able to get those wonderful little baby plants, and the seed truffles are great.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And of course, we're a 501(c)(3), so all of the funds that are raised here come back into programs like the one that we're supporting here today with the donation of books and seed and all of the wonderful things that the Garden Club does for the community.
It does. It does so much for the community. And another thing that I just don't know if everybody who's watching knows is that the Garden Club also is is the one that is responsible for our beautiful pollinator garden right in front of the library, which
Yes.
is just stunning. And you guys are going to be coming over in probably after it's like decent gardening time, after there's no more fear of frost, to sort of work on that and it'll be gorgeous again this year, which will be so
Oh, Christine,
nice.
thank you so much. And, Chris Lindley is really the supporter and the founder of that particular garden. She works with our conservation group, with the Easton Garden Club. She's a past president, in fact. And we will be donating some eco-type plants. So that seed we're selling at the Garden Mart, and some of the seed that you had in your bombs, we will be actually putting some of those native plants right into that garden for people to learn and connect. And they might even want to take the book and go out and that beautiful spot in front of the library and read and connect to that garden.
It would be such a great thing to do. I love that idea of the book, and then go look at the garden. And then there's some beautiful little benches out there in the sun. You can sit in the shade or the sun and look at the beautiful garden. And we often see birds and butterflies, and it's so nice. It's wonderful.
Yes. Well, Christine, thank you so much for what you do. It's so important to connect our children and our families and people in general in Easton to our pollinators, our library, and really all of these resources that encourage and inspire us to be curious about the natural world. And I'm just so happy to be here today on Earth Day with you
Oh,
today.
yay. And Jean, I'm so happy you could come and be with us on Easton Library Community Book Chat. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you everyone for watching, and happy Earth Day and beyond. Happy spring.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Bye.